This is Speak Your Mind on Gold FM. I'm Louise Kaunisela. Today, the 10th of September, is World Suicide Prevention Day. Suicide prevention remains a universal challenge every year. Suicide is among the top 20 leading causes of death globally for people of all ages. So our guests in the studio today, we have the senior counselor of the Lifeline. This is Beauty Nganendra. Thank you very much. And we also have from the Kuruleva consultants, therapist, counselor, trainer, and mental health professional, Selina Kuruleva. Welcome to the both of you to Speak Your Mind.
Thank you,
Naka. Now, we'll get straight into it. I know that from January to August this year, there have been 88 confirmed deaths by suicide and 82 attempted cases. In total, there have been 170 cases in relation to suicide. Why are the numbers so high for a small country like Fiji?
Do you understand?
Okay. From what we could gather, is that, Fiji is one of the many reasons is the development, how the fast pace that it has taken, and then the people not being able to deal with it, cope with it.
Mm-hmm.
And, adding on to that is the movement from the rural to the urban. When people have that connection in families and culture, that break and that support system that they lose while, having this rural to urban area drift,
Mm-hmm.
it isolates them from this normal support system that they're used to, and that they do not know how to cope with that when they're here. And that's one of the main causes, of how suicide comes into mind.
Yeah, and just to add on to what Mbiu is saying,
Mm-hmm.
first, thank you for having us on the show. And like being World Suicide Prevention Day, it's good that we've dedicated a day to it to talk about this issue, but we need to be talking about it every day. Mbiu has told us what happens or what are some reasons behind it. In addition to the reasons she has given, is the economic hardship, or the poverty. Again, this is related to development. This is related to relocation.
True.
Because people have lost their traditional support systems.
Yeah.
For instance,
True.
in the Itoke families, even though our numbers are less than the Fijian of Indian descent, we're still pretty high up. And one of the reasons for that is because there's been a huge rural to urban drift. People have lost the traditional support structures. You and I grew up in households where we had more and nay and X number of people raising the child, the village raising the child. Today, it's not exactly like that.
So the support system, was
Yes.
really good in the past,
In the
and
past.
not so much now.
No, and then, of course, people's coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is, I think, one of perhaps the greatest challenges we have is that people have really do not have healthy coping mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
And when people try and access services, there are just not enough services around to be able to support people who might be contemplating suicide. So it's a whole gamut of factors, and it's extremely important that when we talk about the work around suicide prevention, suicide awareness, that we consider as many of the factors as possible, because these are the contributing factors to one thinking of then, contemplating suicide. We also have people who are mentally ill, who may contemplate suicide, but again, in the whole population of those who have completed or attempted a suicide, a very small number have a mental illness.
Yeah,
And the
that's
mental
also-
illness is usually depression. But it's a
Yes.
really rather small number compared to like the whole gamut of people who completed suicide.
Yeah, that's such a good point you've made. I mean, we see people who, are mentally ill in the streets. I mean, they look happy and fine. Sometimes I'm like, geez, they don't worry about anything. They get their food, provided for them, and they just don't worry, and they keep living how they are. But, people, like you said, don't have a good coping mechanism with depression and anxiety. Maybe that has a lot to do with pushing them to actually do the act. But it's also alarming to see that our young people between the ages of 17 and 25 make up the majority of the 170 cases so far this year. So maybe you'd like to add on to that. I mean, why do you think it is affecting our youth? I mean, you've given a few reasons, obviously. There are many, many reasons. So, I mean, you're the experts in the field, so I'll leave it to you.
When we talk about the figures, and you've rightly pointed that out, the figures in Fiji is consistent with global trend. And when I say consistent with global trend, we look at two main issues. Number one is sex. There will always be more males than females completing a suicide. It is true for Fiji. It is true globally. That's the global trend. Second, the age group. We have here 17 to 25 completed suicide. That's the highest group. If you look at the whole breakdown of the statistics, it's actually from 15 to 29.
Okay.
And that, again, is consistent with global trend. Now, the questions we need to be asking ourselves, and experts or suicidologists around the world are asking themselves, is why, when people should be at their most productive years, you're leaving high school, you're starting university, you're starting a new job, you're finding a boyfriend, a girlfriend, starting a family, what have you. But instead of choosing that path, some actually think that this is a path for them. Now, our job, or what the question we need to ask is, how can we ensure that we take these people away from thinking that suicide is an option? Because it is not. It is never an option.
Never.
Now, it's hard today, and it might be harder tomorrow, but problems will change.
Yes.
And that's extremely important for people to remember. Sometimes we are very short-sighted. We feel alone, useless, trapped. And maybe you can talk about this a bit more, because, majority of the work is dealing with these kind of people who call in and talk to them about, just feeling alone and out of it. And it's the people in this category. Instead of being so productive, they're giving Lifeline a call and other NGOs and telling them, useless, hopeless, what have you. Do you want
the feelings that they have
associated, and of course, the thoughts of.
Thank you, ma'am. Just to add on to that, it's the intergenerational gap. We have come to two different generations. The generations of our parents is different, parenting style as well as the kind of life that they've experienced, and then to our generation, it's different. Usually there are misunderstandings, especially when our parents, the way that they were brought up is different to how the world is today, and in that it requires a different aspect of parenting, and also this association. Like before, there's a lot of physical interaction. Now there's a social media, and that's another contributing. And this age range, make up the individual that is most active on social media,
Right.
and there is studies that links, social media, youth, in social media, and their tendency
to be affected by whatever the posts are being done on
yeah.
Facebook. But hey, we'll be back soon on Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. We're back on Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. Thank you a lot for your company. Today, the 10th of September, is World Suicide Prevention Day, and our guest, the Senior Counselor of Lifeline, Biu Mbaliyo Kinawa, and also we have from Kuru Leather Consultants, Selina, thank you so much. And it was interesting how we said that the youth make up a big part of completed suicide or even anxiety and depression. This is a time when they're supposed to have a whole life ahead of them and be embracing it, but instead, they get haunted by their thoughts and, get anxiety and depression. So anxiety and depression is an illness.
Yes. In the DSM-5, Diagnostic Statistical Manual for Mental Illness, both of them are classified as mental illnesses or mental health disorders. And both of them, obviously, there are certain criteria an individual needs to fulfill before you can be diagnosed as having anxiety or before you can be diagnosed as having depression.
Okay.
Now, I guess for us as a general population, for people listening out there, the important thing to think about is if someone you love, someone around you is showing any of these symptoms, where can I go to get help? Do I need to tell someone? Okay, very briefly, what are you looking for? You're looking for feeling down or feeling completely blue for prolonged periods of time. When we say prolonged periods of time, we mean 2 weeks or more in more than one sitting. It means you feel that way at home, at work, at play.
Just doesn't go away.
Just this whole heaviness, like, you can't do anything. Even though you may have had 10 hours of sleep, you wake, that's the third thing. You
still
wake
feel
up the
tired.
next morning and you're just lethargic. You can't do anything.
Sad.
So if some of these things are happening to you, and the person you see a loved one behaving in this manner, you need to ask for help. You need to go and get help. Giving away of prized possessions.
Okay, so when you say to get help, where can they get help? Obviously, Lifeline.
Lifeline Fiji.
And obviously,
they can come to me,
Yep.
Kurleva Consultants. They can also go to Empower Pacific,
Yeah.
Medical Services Pacific, Youth Champs for Mental Health, the local hospitals, all the major hospitals, divisional hospitals. They have
Stress wards.
stress wards.
Oh, they have stress wards
Yes,
as well. I
yes,
didn't know that.
And obviously, if the person you want to take, or they've already attempted, or you're getting worried, you can always go to the Fiji Police, and the Fiji Police has a responsibility
Okay.
to help you, the family member, escort the person that you care about, the person who has attempted, shown really serious signs, and you're concerned.
Yeah.
For you to, the police is equipped and is required by law to accompany that person to the hospital. And when we're talking about the hospital, we're talking about the psychiatric hospital.
Okay, so like if for a parent or guardian, how is he or she to know that the child is going to complete suicide? Because, they might not even say it, but I know that there's a lot that do actually say it somehow. So maybe you can explain.
You want to talk about the warning signs?
It's the change in their behavior. They become, they have this, they do not care about the things that they used to like before, or, their hobbies. They're giving up on that. And then they might have, giving subtle messages, words like, I've had enough of this, or, I'm going to go soon. Giving away of possessions as well. Not eating well, not sleeping well. And, sometimes their behavior is in total opposite of what you know them normally as.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you. That's an important sign to recognize because, it affects families as well. For some too, like our young ones, some have completed suicide because they were pregnant and they didn't want, they didn't know what to do. That is just absolutely awful.
Yeah, and I guess perhaps just to keep this conversation going, is everybody has stresses. Okay, all of us in this room have stresses. No
Yes,
one
very much
doesn't
so.
just magically go away. And that's okay. That's what life is about. It's about living. It's about having problems. It's about addressing those issues. It's about maybe getting into difficult conversations, and that's fine. The issue here is when you feel stuck, what are you going to do about it? When you're down that dark path,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, I can't do this anymore. I just feel really bad and nobody loves me. Whatever is going on in your head, I need to tell somebody, As professionals, we are here to help. We can't, we might be the best in our field, but we cannot read your mind. You need to come and tell us
Okay.
what's going on. And
Don't bottle it up.
because at the end of the day, we can only help you if you come and tell us what the problem is.
Exactly. You've got to help yourself, just have that strength to just get up and look for help.
And in the cases where you do not have the strength because you're just completely out of it, almost like lost touch with reality, the people who live around you. This is where family is extremely important, where people who you work with, your work colleagues, or if you're a student, where your teachers and your friends notice, oh, Selena is behaving really different. She's not usually like this. She's a really good hockey player, but she's given away all her hockey stuff. As a teacher, I need to see those signs, make the call, do the referral, because it's better always to err on the side of caution that something is not right here, than to afterwards go, man, yeah, she was.
Yeah, that's awful regret, eh?
Yeah.
That's just terrible. So about cases involving students, what can be done to help their families and the students of the school?
Well, right now we've just completed with the World Health Organization an initiative or a program that's been funded by the Korean government. It's called the Health Promoting School Program.
Okay.
The line ministries are both the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health. So what we did was we went out into the schools who were part of our mental health well-being schools, and we taught teachers on looking out for suicide prevention, talking to teachers about suicide prevention, bullying, alcohol, and other drugs.
Right.
So the teachers have now been trained, again, only those schools who are mental health well-being schools, about 64 in total, on what to do, what are the warning signs, what can you do to help. So we've done that with only 64 schools. We would prefer that we did it with all the schools in Fiji, both the primary and the high school, as well as putting in a program, part of teacher training college,
Yes.
part of their curriculum, part of the nurses' curriculum to pick these things up.
Yeah, very important. This is Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. We'll be back in a moment. Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. I hope you're enjoying the program. A very important topic that we're discussing about World Suicide Prevention Day, and our friends that have come and, creating awareness about this is our crisis intervention support worker from Lifeline Biu, and also Selena of Kuru Leather Consultants. It's obvious that you are very well qualified, the both of you, so it's really good talking to you. Now, just in your experience, what has been common issues affecting a lot of people in Fiji, young people?
For young people, majority of the issue that they come up with is the expectations of family and not meeting to that. And also, yes, the possible, they have this in their mind, the possible result or the repercussions of their actions, or maybe if they do not meet a certain expectation from their family, they can already envision, the views from their family and within their community. So that's one of the issue. And then there's the financial struggles and not having a job. And also there's this relationship issues, which is also becoming a recent spike.
I know.
Into one of the recent years of the issues amongst young people, and also the internet bullying, the cyberbullying, another issue that has shot up the roof recently as well. Yeah.
So, for example, just cyberbullying, just saying, horrible and bad remarks, and some people can't take it.
Yeah, and I get the danger about cyberbullying. Thank you, Mbu, for bringing that up. In Australia, New Zealand, the UK, and the US, suicide figures have tripled. And many of them for young people, have been directly attributed to the use of social media, cyberspace, in the internet. Cyberbullying is really bad because people create fake accounts and they stalk people, they troll, or whatever these terms are. And, I'm the only one on this side, and all of you are attacking me, but I don't even really know who you are. And the whole world can see it. So I'm already feeling bad at school because people are bullying me. Then when I get home and I want to relax, I turn on my Instagram or FB or Snapchat or TikTok or whatever, and people have made, videos of me or calling me names. So it is really bad. unfortunately, in Fiji, especially in the main urban centers where we have free Wi-Fi, and I dislike this free Wi-Fi business, because in the children or young people and adults as well, but a lot of people now have the ability to go online and just sit there and do all of these things, and there's no one monitoring all these nasty things that people are saying. They're creating all sorts of fake accounts.
It's horrible.
And people are being bullied online. I know that the Fiji police has a cyber crime unit, and they are trying to work with the public when complaints come. So I guess now it's encouraging the public, on how you use the media properly, because it is a very powerful tool. But use it correctly. Use it as an engine to encourage other people. Use it as an engine to find progressive, positive information
Honestly, man.
instead of trying to put people down.
That's just awful what happens these days, eh?
Do you have calls coming in about cyberbullying?
It comes up in one of them, like one of the main issues that they come up with, and then that as an added factor to that as well. Yeah.
So, I mean, everyone's different. Everyone's got a different mindset. I mean, if that happened to me, I probably wouldn't bother, because I always think of what my grandmother used to say, sticks and stones will hurt your bones and words should never hurt you. So that saying has always kept me to be a strong person. So, it doesn't really matter. I don't care who talks about me or anything. But then you have other people who get really affected.
Absolutely.
And then they can actually, go into depression, anxiety. And how do you think that this problem will be solved?
Yeah.
I mean, for us in Fiji, I mean, we're just getting into it, but we're really into it now, social media. So what would be your advice?
Parents need to monitor, especially young people, the use of the internet. Every website, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, they all have an age limit. If your child is under that age, they should not be on that site, period.
Okay.
If they are on that site, please make sure you are friends with them, you're following them or something, so you can see the conversations that they are having, who they're having it with, and what people are saying. Unfortunately, this is common sense, Unfortunately, parent themselves is busy doing this, and child is sitting over there busy doing this as well. So there needs to be really strict rules. If you're going to buy a phone for your child or you allow your child to use the internet, there needs to be boundaries around what you can do, what you cannot do, how you need to behave online, what are some things that you can say, what are things that you cannot say. And that you need to still be the adult here. But a lot of our young people are online and they are not supposed to be on those sites because they're underage, Who's the owner of Facebook? I think Facebook is 16 and above for a reason.
Yeah.
But instead, our young people are all on
We're getting primary school students as well.
So we need parental supervision, extremely important. Number 2 is, I think, our government needs to shut down some of these Wi-Fi hotspots. I know half of Fiji is going to be angry now for me saying this. But
you're going to be the worst enemy now.
But people are going to these spots where it's Wi-Fi free, and they sit there and they're accessing these internet sites, talking nonsense, and also looking at things that they should not be looking at. This is the other problem. There are quite a few things that's online and very dangerous.
True.
No one is supervising. If your children tell you, but I really need to do research, please give me the phone now. So if you give the phone, please, when you get it back, go to the history and check.
Yeah.
Exactly. In schools, all schools that have computers, they've obviously blocked some sites, which is great. But all schools also should have a backup server, because our children are smart and they're deleting the tab, the history tab. Guess what? If your school has a server, a backup server, your principal, your IT teacher can still go to the server and pick up the information of where you've been. If you've said something nasty about someone else and that person has complained, under the law, you can be taken to task, because that's annoyance of the modesty of another person.
True.
So we have laws there and regulations.
For a reason?
Yeah, for a reason. And most importantly, parental supervision. I cannot stress this enough.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, who knows? They're probably going on the porn sites as well, and the ages are getting younger and younger. On Speak Your Mind, thank you for your company. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. Our guest in the studio, we have from Lifeline, the crisis intervention support worker, Bill, and also from Kuru Leather consultant, Selina. Now, a very good things we've been talking about, and I thank you very much for at least making parents wake up to the negative side of social media. I mean, we can always use it for great things to learn, schoolwork, but unfortunately there's always a good and bad side to everything. But anyhow, just on the question of people committing suicide in the West, that seems to be the greater number. Why is that?
Excuse me. So
I should say completing suicide.
yeah, completing. So for the West, it has been a trend for quite some times, and when there is a suicide completion in a certain area, the likelihood of it, the effects and the impact of that place, of the certain area or hotspot, the likelihood of having suicide is much higher because it is the influence, the trend, and people can sometimes copycat. When they've heard of a certain individual completing suicide in this certain area, other people who who are going through crisis themselves, they would think of that as their way out as well. Because if this person has done that, I can also do that as a form of escape. And then, secondly, I think in the Central Division, a lot of our organizations are here as well. So our citizens in the Central Division are more informed than those of the Western side.
Okay.
That could be another reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are a lot more services in the central and the main city here. Compared to the Western Division, we're talking predominantly about farming communities. We're talking also about isolated communities. So going to the place to get help is one issue. Second, obviously, is the help-seeking behavior of the individual. And thirdly is the type of service available in that local area. So I guess how can we change this? It comes back to the need to decentralize services, but more importantly, the need to train and support NGOs such as Lifeline, such as Youth Champs for Mental Health, and Power Pacific, Medical Services Pacific, who are doing work in this area, so that there are more of them trained, more of them can reach out to the communities, more advocacy awareness programs, so that people, regardless of you're in the interior of Vitilevu or you're in Silver City, you are accessing some level of service. And then the services you are accessing, people there are also equipped to refer you. There's a very clear referral pathway on where you can go to access other services. You brought up a really important topic, and I just want to touch on that a bit, on the copycat. The copycat is also related to how the media reports about this issue. Okay. The World Health Organization has always had and given strict guidelines on how you report or media reporting on suicides, because it is extremely important that when we report on suicide, we report on it in a sensitive manner. We don't give detail. There's a whole criteria of things that you can and cannot do. The National Committee on the Prevention of Suicide, we have tried to come into every newsroom in Fiji to do the training so that media personnel are adequately trained and they know how to report on a suicide. You might have your journalistic skills, but when it comes to reporting on suicides, that's a whole different ballgame. So I guess to minimize copycats, one of the important things that we can do is train media personnel using the WHO guidelines on media reporting of suicides so that we can reduce this. Number two is the community around them. I guess if I'm in the middle of Vitilevu and I feel unsupported, I completed suicide, there might be someone down the road who might be contemplating the same thing. It might trigger for them. So it's extremely important that when we talk about these things, that when we putting it out there in public, we do not glorify it because it is not glorious, that we do not make them the star attraction because they are not stars. But most importantly, we need to turn it into a learning curve that, we are all troubled. We all have problems. Come in, talk about it. That's the issue. But a lot of times when suicides are talked about, it's like, oh yeah, that's not it. What can you do to help? How can I recognize if someone in my own family, someone that I work with, needs help so that I can set them in the right direction?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good one. Yeah, so like the support is really key, I reckon,
Yeah.
to be able to recognize the signs and, like you said, refer to the proper pathway. And, as a parent, let your child speak to you and share he or her problems. And that's where the parents and guardians are very important as well.
A lot of the issues we have, in my opinion, is because the parenting is missing. Strong, solid foundation of parenting, sitting with your child and talking with your child and just helping your child to tell you what's going on.
Because sometimes there's no
Everyone
communication. Everyone doing their own thing.
Yeah. I understand that, in today's time and age, our economic pressure to meet our bills, that a lot of us are not at home, that a lot of us are out there working 24/7. Thank you, that's honorable, but is it necessary? Because you only have your child from 0 to 18.
Honestly.
Those are the years that you need to do everything and anything you can to make sure that they are independent, they are strong, they can make informed decisions, they are respectful, and they're kind and compassionate. But we're leaving these teachings to the video and to this little machine. What do you think is going to happen to this child? So I just want to challenge parents out there that this is our responsibility. We need to help our kids come and tell us what's going on in their lives so that we are better equipped to help them.
Yes.
One of the issues that a lot of parents seem to be having is this. So like when a child come and tell them that there's a problem and the parent loses it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Stop. Parent, it's not about you. It's about you helping your child. That's why the child is here. The child did not magically appear. You went and did the tango, and that's why child is here. So it is your responsibility to help the child whatever way you can.
And I reckon communication, love, obviously, very at the foremost.
Yes.
And, finding the time, maybe just to take your child out and, gain that trust. So when you gain the trust with your child will open up to you. On Speak Your Mind, Gold FM, only the classic hits. Gold FM, only the classic hits. This is Speak Your Mind. Thank you a lot for your company. If you'd like to be a part of the discussion, you can call 3220906, or you can even ask a question. 7732906 is another number that you can call. So thank you very much, our guest from Lifeline, the crisis intervention support worker, Bu, and also from Kuru Leather Consultant, Selena. Wonderful points that you two lovely ladies have been bringing up. And the last one, wow, just reminding parents to keep the communication going between you and your child. Now, from the 170 cases relating suicide for both deaths and attempts, males are higher than women, with males at 95 cases in total and women at 79. Why are numbers higher in men than in women?
Yeah. Again, like I had said earlier, consistent with global trend, two main factors. There's many factors, but two main reasons why there will always be more males completing a suicide than a female. Number one is they will use more lethal means. What does that mean? They will use means that is sure to complete the suicide. A woman might choose to use a less dangerous means. The man will always choose the more dangerous, the more lethal mean. Second is males are less likely, not that they don't, they are less likely to discuss issues that might be affecting them. Whereas us women, one issue happened today, tonight, all my cousins in America will know about it because our mouths are more likely to share the issues than men. So those are.
Yeah,
Do you want to add something else?
good points. Yeah.
And the support services, yes, a lot of support services are there for women, and they maybe a few or rarely any support services are available for men, in to support them in their own times of crisis. And yes, that's just to add on to what Ma'am has mentioned.
Not easy at all. So, I mean, to get the men talking to someone, I mean, how would you do that? I mean, well, the man has a mother, the man has a sister, but like you said, he's probably not saying anything at all. So that's where you have to come in and recognize something's wrong.
Something is wrong. And I guess there's one new NGO that has just been set up, or a group of men who've been meeting. I think they've been meeting here in Suva. They've also been meeting in the West, just encouraging each other to come and talk about the difficulties that people have. A lot of our societies are very, patriarchal. This is the man misogynist, whatever is going on in their head, so they think they can't or should not share. But hey, before you're a man or a woman, you are still a human being, and everyone as a human being has issues, period.
Yeah, and you've got to let it out. You're not going to keep it in and make yourself suffer. Let go of all that suffering. I mean, goodness me. Now, the latest stats show Fijians of Indian descent making up the highest numbers in relation to completing suicide, with 122 cases, and Ethiopians 46, and for others too. Why such a big difference between ethnic groups?
For some cases in the Itoke community, I think at times it is underreported, especially in isolated areas. There are times and occasions where family prefer not to report a member of their family as someone who has completed suicide due to the perspectives of their belief system as well. And, that's one of the many reasons for that.
Okay.
And again, something that Mbiu had already spoken about earlier, is that the Fijian of Indian descent, or the Indo-Fijian community, their type of family structure is quite different from the traditional Itoke family structure. A lot of times, these communities or the people in these families feel trapped, alone, and very isolated. And compared to the Itoke family, there is still a lot more stigma and discrimination associated with this behavior in the Fijian of Indian descent families. So those are some of the factors you need to take into consideration when you're talking about the different ethnic groups. I think it's really important that we bring this up, because a lot of times we're told you can't talk about ethnicity because it's political. You know what? Everything is political. But when it comes to saving lives, the use of ethnicity is because then we can get to the etiology. What is the root cause? The root cause in the Indian family is very different from the root cause in the Fijian family. It's very different from the root cause in the Rotuman family. That is why you need to look at ethnicity. When you look at the root cause in the Indo-Fijian family, or the Fijian of Indian descent, it is more likely it's related to economic hardship than relationship. You look at the Fijian family, it's okay, more relationship than economic. So until we address these root causes, which is entrenched in the cultures of this different ethnicity, we won't be able to begin to fix this problem. So yes, everything is political. We're not here because we don't really care about that political conversation. We really care about getting to the etiology, which you need to look at. It's like talking about diabetes.
Right.
You go to the diabetes stats and you will see Indo-Fijian and Fijian of Itoke. And you will see which numbers are higher. Then you go to, these people are higher. Let us see what they eat. Where? Etiology.
Okay.
So
yes,
this is what we
fair
need
enough.
to talk about.
Yes, that's really good. Thank you. Okay, so how would you describe the mental health structure in Fiji in terms of budget allocation from government and the services that exist?
Yes, about that. The budget has come out, and there's a new budgeting and financial system in place, which we're still trying to understand. There has been an allocation to mental health. There is some allocation to suicide prevention. The mental health allocation is actually in the whole wellness budget. It is good, but now it is time to utilize the budget out there in the community where it matters. And when I say utilize the budget, I mean equipping the NGOs, getting the different hospitals or subdivisional hospitals to partner with the local communities, train them up, recognize the signs, see what you can do, go out there and do the work.
Lovely. Well, unfortunately, we have come to the end of Speak Your Mind, and it's really great having you on the show. From Lifeline, the Crisis Intervention Support Worker, Bu, thank you so much. And also from Kurleather Consultants, Selina, you're both wonderful. Thank you indeed. And until next week, Nisamo Demanda.